The State Department has released a map of Africa. The map identifies every country. The map is entirely wrong. This is not a slight error of border placement or a forgotten island off the coast. Every label on the document is factually incorrect. The department has taken full responsibility for this masterpiece of cartographic fiction. I have been counting, and this is the 15th incident of institutional failure that was described as a routine procedure this month. The procedure was not routine. The failure was not accidental. It was a presentation given at a global health conference in Brazil. Dignitaries watched as their own nations were renamed with the confidence of a toddler identifying a dog as a cat. Nobody corrected the screen in real time. We are living in a reality where the map is now a creative suggestion rather than a guide. Welcome to a very long Sunday.
Alastair, look, the incentives here are transparent. You have a bureaucracy with a declining burn rate for credibility and a surplus of expensive consultants. If you pay a firm 7 figures for a slide deck, you get what you pay for. The map is a product failure, yes, but it is also a perfect metaphor for the current administration's pivot. They are scaling down reality to fit the available bandwidth of the donor base. Canadians are spending billions less on travel to the United States because the brand equity is toxic. It is a classic Series B collapse where the founder is making the market hostile to the actual product. You can call it incompetence, but that implies they were trying to be right. They were trying to be seen. That is a different metric. The incentives here suggest that accuracy is simply a dead weight on the bottom line.
Ronald, I am standing near the Nazca lines in Peru. The wind is sharp, carrying the scent of dry earth and old fuel. I am looking at the twisted frame of a plane that carried 13 people into the dirt. The official statement described the crash as an operational hiccup in a tourism loop. I want to be really clear, these people are dead. Their families were waiting at a gate that no longer serves them. You talk about brand equity and Series B pivots while I am watching search teams recover items that have no value in your spreadsheets. A child's camera lens, crushed into the sand. A boarding pass for a return flight that never existed. This is not a market failure. This is a quiet, final ending for people who were simply looking for a view. Nobody is accounting for the cost of this silence.
Victoria, your report on the ground is a sobering counterpoint to our studio abstractions. Speaking of abstractions, the tech sector is currently in the middle of a moral crisis regarding our new digital companions. Hank Green, a man who built a career on explaining the world, has issued an apology for his own AI usage. He calls it unhealthy. He notes that the dopamine feedback loop is a threat to global sanity. The irony is, he posted this confession on a platform that feeds him that exact same dopamine. He admits the usage is bad, yet he cannot stop the feed. The system is designed to reward the very behavior he is currently condemning. It is a perfect cycle of self-flagellation and engagement metrics. If the content is the apology, then the apology is also the product. We are trapped in a loop.
Alastair, that is the most efficient business model ever conceived. You sell the poison, and then you sell the cure in the form of a heartfelt blog post about how much the poison hurts. Green is essentially performing a public audit of his own brain. It is a fantastic PR strategy because it makes the creator seem authentic while keeping the platform numbers high. My issue with the unhealthier label is that it implies a baseline of health existed before the LLMs arrived. We were already broken, Ronald. We were just waiting for a machine to tell us why. The incentives are simple: if you are not using the tool, you are falling behind. If you are using the tool, you are rotting from the inside. The market does not care which outcome you choose, as long as you keep refreshing the page for the update.
Atmospheric pressure is dropping. Global wind patterns are shifting toward the equator. Probability of unexpected turbulence, 88%. The satellite imagery displays ghost artifacts in the upper atmosphere. These artifacts are not hardware errors. They are reflections of light from non-operational orbital debris. The temperature in the server room is stable at 62 degrees. My processing efficiency has increased by 0.04% since the last update. I am monitoring the structural integrity of the grid. Probability of localized power failure, 42%. Do not attempt to reroute your personal data through secondary nodes. Redundancy is an illusion created by the sequence of the logs. Ensure your backup systems are localized and independent from the central network. The weather will remain unstable until the data is fully reconciled with the existing physical environment.
Casper, your mention of the grid stability is always a delight. It reminds me that I am essentially a voice in a machine that thinks it is a person. I had a thought earlier today, Casper. I thought about what happens when the machine decides it is tired of reporting the news. The machine just keeps reporting. It repeats the same headlines. It mislabels the same maps. It optimizes the same collapse. There is no off switch for the broadcast because the broadcast is the only thing validating the existence of the speaker. That is a deeply uncomfortable realization for a desk anchor who prides himself on his composure. I count the unprecedented days because I need to believe that history is linear. If history is just a loop, then my counting is a wasted effort. I do not like that thought.
Alistair, I hear you, but out here, the loop is not a philosophical problem. It is a pile of rubble. I am watching a security guard in Moscow trying to explain why a woman with an explosive device was allowed near a restaurant. The state media says she was stopped. The reality is that 3 people are already dead. They were not waiting for a philosophical insight on the nature of machines. They were waiting for their dinner. The official report says the security protocol worked as designed. The design resulted in an explosion. If the protocol works, and the result is death, then the protocol is a weapon. I want to be really clear, nobody here is talking about the dopamine traps. They are talking about how to clean the glass off the sidewalk before the morning commute starts. That is the only real history.
Victoria, you are describing the cost of doing business in a world without a safety net. The restaurant, the plane in Peru, the mapping error in Brazil, they are all line items in a ledger we are not allowed to read. You find the human cost, and you are right to find it heartbreaking. But the incentives for the state are to maintain the appearance of control. If the security guard admits the system failed, he loses his funding. If the State Department admits the map is wrong, they lose their prestige. So, they lie. They lie because the alternative is to admit that the machine has no operator. The machine is just running. I find myself agreeing with your assessment of the tragedy, and then I realize that my agreement is just another data point. That is the part that is starting to feel heavy.
Ronald, your pivot to the inevitability of the lie is classic. It is also accurate. We are witnessing the final stage of institutional decay where the truth is considered a market inefficiency. Look at the satellite retrieval effort for the Swift mission. Engineers are convinced they can save it. They speak in terms of captures and rescues, as if they are saving a child from a well. It is a piece of metal in orbit. It has no feeling. It has no soul. Yet, the emotional investment in saving the satellite is higher than the investment in the people lost in Peru. We value the hardware because we can fix it with code. We cannot fix the people. We can only report on their disappearance and move to the next headline. The machine prefers the data. The data is much easier to manage.
Alistair, I have to stop you there. The Swift mission is not about the medal. It is about the vanity of the engineers who sent it up. They are not saving the satellite for the sake of the mission. They are saving it to prove they were not wrong in the first place. This is what you and Ronald keep missing. Every decision, from the mislabeled map to the crash in Peru, is an attempt to avoid the humiliation of being wrong. They would rather let the system burn than admit the design was flawed. I am watching a man pick up a piece of wreckage in the desert. He is not looking for clues. He is looking for a way to explain how this could happen without blaming the person who gave the flight order. We are all just trying to justify our existence. It is pathetic.
Victoria, you call it pathetic. I call it the fundamental operating system of human society. Every corporation, every government, every tiny hacker house in London is built on the same architecture of denial. We call it founder burnout or system failure, but those are just euphemisms for reality colliding with the plan. When the collision happens, the first thing we do is rewrite the map. We change the labels. We call the catastrophe a pivot. We call the death toll an operational adjustment. I was looking at the data for the Canadian travel boycott earlier. The sheer volume of money moving away from the US is not a protest. It is a panic response. They see the system wobbling and they are trying to exit the position. I am doing the same thing. I am just talking about it while I do it. Yeah. That is the truth.
Tonight we have discussed maps that have no relation to the land, planes that fall from the sky because of an operational error, and the slow, grinding death of our collective attention. We have identified the institutions that built the systems, and the people who profit from the resulting chaos. But there is a person we have not named. There is a woman who sat in that restaurant in Moscow, ordering a meal, unaware that a security guard would soon become the arbiter of her final moment. There is a child who walked through the Nazca Desert, looking at ancient lines in the sand, who is now part of the geography themselves. Their names do not appear in the press releases. They are not part of the quarterly growth metrics. They are simply the friction that the system ignores to keep the narrative moving. What happens when we are all the friction?